One of my fondest memories of being a scout leader was when our troop was recruited to help shore up the banks of the river during the spring floods. It was threatening to wash away a brand new piece of roadway, and so we came in to provide some community service and help stack those sandbags. The scouts learned a lot about the overwhelming power of Mother Nature, as well as something about coming together as a community. Well, I thought it was a great idea for a cooperative card game, and so here we are. So this is the season for the streams and rivers to overflow their banks and threaten the floodplain. Melting snow and spring rains threaten a lot of communities, and every one of those communities has its own way of dealing with this challenge. Well, what we have here is a little card game, and all the players are working together to hold back the floodwaters during this game. The game of Flash Flood is played with a deck of 72 cards. Now, in this deck of cards, there are the following: 35 sandbags. These are used to build a levee to hold back the flood. There are also 15 leaking levee cards, because the water will get through. There are 10 ripped bag cards, which will slow the player's progress. There are also 6 river rising cards, which reveal the inevitable increase in the flood level as you play. And 6 special action cards, one for each player, to fix problems encountered during the game. To set up the game, you take the river rising and special action cards out of the deck and set them aside. Then the rest of the cards get shuffled together. Deal 3 cards to each player. These hands of cards should be kept secret from the other players. Give each player one of the special action cards, which they should lay on the table face up somewhere nearby. 6 of the sandbag cards are laid out side by side on the table. This is the foundation row for the levee that you will all build during this game. Be sure this first row doesn't contain any leaks or ripped sandbags, unless you want to add even more of a challenge to the game. During the game, you'll be placing more sandbags onto the levee in higher and higher rows to hold back the flood. Now take one of the river rising cards and place it at the end of this initial row of 6 cards. This will indicate the level of the water in the river. The rest of the deck is then split into 4 roughly equal piles. They don't have to be exact, but should be nearly so. Insert a river rising card into each of these piles, then shuffle each of these piles separately. There will be an extra river rising card. That can just be put back into the box for now. And then finally stack all 4 piles together to make a face-down draw deck. On your turn, you do the following steps. Number 1, draw the top card from the draw deck and add it to your hand. If this is a river rising card, place it on top of the previously placed river rising card, covering it about halfway. The bottom of the earlier card should be showing. If this river rising card is on the same level as an uncompleted row of sandbags, your team has lost the game. The flood is overflowing the levee and floods the town, and you should run for high ground. To be clear, an uncompleted row is one with gaps where sandbags are missing, or rows where there are leaks that have not been fixed. After you've placed that river rising card, and if the levee has not overflowed, start your turn over by drawing a new card into your hand. If the drawn card is a ripped bag, place it in the game box and take a break. Your turn is over while you take the ripped bag back to the truck to be repaired or replaced. If the drawn card is a leaking levee card or a sandbag card, put it into your hand. Step 2, play a card from your hand onto the levee. This card must overlap 2 previously placed cards or hang over the end halfway as shown here. You can put this card anywhere on the wall you'd like, except overlapping a leak that hasn't been fixed. The levee should not exceed 6 cards wide at each level. If there are 6 bags in the row, you must start the next row. You may choose to play a sandbag to fix a leak. A leaking card can either be replaced by the good sandbag and put in the box, or you can just place the good sandbag over the top of the leaking one. It's up to you how you want to place that. Step 3, or 2.5, instead of playing a card from your hand, you can play your special action card. This may be used to remove a leaking card from the levee, and both the leaking card and the special card go in the box. This leaves a gap to be filled by a sandbag on a later turn. Or, a special action can be used to stop the river from rising for 1 round. That works like this. You place your special action card on top of the most recently played river rising card, covering the card halfway. This does not nullify a river rising card that's already been placed. It's a preventative measure for future cards that might be played. While that special action card is there, if anyone should draw a river rising card during their turn, that river rising card gets placed under the special action card. It doesn't take effect right away. When your turn comes round again, the first thing you do is remove that special action card, and that reveals the river rising card, which takes effect at that point. That special action card goes back in the box, and it's out of the game. Hopefully your special action bought the group enough time to finish a level on the levee so that it's complete. If not, again, you've lost the game. Now remember that everyone has a special action card, so someone else could add their card to the river rising stack also to keep this advantage going. But 2 special action cards on the river rising column is the maximum. You can discuss amongst yourselves this kind of strategy. I have a special action card, I'm going to play it now, and then when it gets around to that third player, they can play theirs, and so we've prevented the rising of the river for another entire round. So after your turn is done, the next player to the left does the same thing, and so on around the table until your team either wins or loses. When the 5th row of sandbags is complete with no leaks or gaps, you've won the game. You've stopped the floodwaters at your assigned station and saved the town. If, however, the 5th river rising card has been placed before you can complete that row, you've lost. The floodwaters break through the levee and wash away all your hard work. Now, one important note, like a lot of these games, you can hint at the cards in your hand, but you can't tell anybody what you actually have. So, example, you can say, well, I'll be able to help next time round. Or, if I play this card, you're really going to need to help me. Or, my hand is not very helpful. Hopefully you can make up for that when it's your turn. And that's about it. Now, there are several ways that you can make the game easier. One is to only put down 5 cards for the width of the levee. Of course, you can make it a lot harder by putting 7 cards down to increase the difficulty. Another that I've already mentioned is that when you put down that first tableau, you can have a leaking section of the levee there that you have to address right away. You can try to play without the special action cards. That's a very valuable special action, especially with that rising river, but it's possible to play and win without the special action cards. Now, you also notice that we put the 6th river rising card back in a box. If you're confident that you can stop the flood, then you can add that 6th card into the deck. Do 5 piles instead of 4 when you do the initial setup. That river is going to rise a lot faster. It is possible to win that way. So when the rain starts falling and the snow is melting off the hillsides, you'll watch that river's level go up and up and up and up. Be prepared. You never know when you may be called upon to help stay the river's overflowing banks and save an awful lot of folks from disaster. So I hope you enjoy Flash Flood, the card game, not the actual event. And whatever you play, be sure to play every day. If you are called upon, be sure to follow your instructions and do what the leader says. Nothing can be worse confusion in an emergency situation than having too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say.